yeast starter, just so we can kind of show both of them. The yeast starter was started from the same thing. Only difference being we actually made we made a mini beer for this one. And it's been sitting for about 3 days, building up that yeast cake that's in the bottom right now. Now to start with that, you want your water. You start with what they say about a pint, but I use less because it really doesn't matter in the end. You start with about, I just use this little glass jar because it works well and it's easy to carry around. You want to have your water anywhere between 95 and 110 degrees. No hotter than that because it'll hurt the yeast. I don't know if it'll kill them or it'll just hurt them. You just use regular tap water. You open up the top of your yeast. And within the yeast packet there's also yeast nutrient and stabilizers that help the yeast stay alive as well. So, and what you do is you sprinkle it over the top without mixing the yeast in. In the first video, I believe you all just sprinkled it right over the fermenter top, right?
The reason why you want to rehydrate it or make a yeast starter is there's too much, there's a high concentration of sugar in your beer, and the yeast will not be able to rehydrate very well with that high concentrated water or with high concentrated sugar. So you'll want to do this first. It's much better. You'll have, potentially have much better beer if you do it this way.
Now with the dry yeast, you let it sit for 15 minutes on top. Do not stir, do not shake. Just put your top back on so none of the critters or anything gets in there with it. Usually you don't have a problem with that, but I just put it back on and pat it down a little bit. After 15 minutes, you can stir. You can see there's yeast already settling to the bottom. As they hydrate, they'll become heavy and come out of suspension. The water is clouding as we speak. It's kind of cool to watch. And in about 15 minutes, we'll mix this up, and then we'll be ready to add it to our wort.
All right, a cool thing I think too about brewing your own beer at home, they have all kinds of home brew contests that you can enter just to kind of see what you think. They always have professional judges that will give you some of their ideas about the beer, ways you can improve it, their own thoughts. One of the biggest brewing contests, home brew contests in the United States is hosted by Samuel Adams Beer. It's called the Long Shot Brewing Contest, and it's kind of cool. If you win their contest, at a Patriots game, they will serve your beer at a Patriots game and sell it there. Also, the top 3 beers from their contest, they will make a 6-pack and sell, called like Long Shot 6-pack, and they'll each have 2 of the top 2 beers from the top 3 winners. This is one of those that won their contest from this year. This hasn't been out very long. This is a double IPA, and IPA stands for India Pale Ale, and that name comes from a long time ago. It's an English style of beer, and when India was a colony, they used to brew the beer in England and then send it to India. So they had to make a very strong beer with lots of hops, because hops are a natural preservative, to be able to last that voyage without spoiling. So an IPA traditionally will be one of your strongest beers, have an extremely strong hops flavor, and but the Americans, craft brewers, have adapted that and made what's called a double IPA, and so it's even that much more stronger with even that much more hops flavor to it. So this I would expect to be very, very bitter and very strong. What's that?
Good amber color.
That's looking
traditional of an IPA. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Really smell the hops in it too.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
cheers.
Cheers.
It's an IPA.
That's an IPA. It's actually not as strong a hops as I'd expect. I mean, it's definitely strong in hops, but it's not overly so. You know, if you're a Michelob Ultra drinker, you want to stay away from this type of beer because you probably won't like it. But
they also use somewhat mellow hops. I mean, they use a lot of hops, but it's
not real sharp
like
flavor.
Cascades or those Cascades are really bite you.
Mm-hmm. It's good. I kind of like it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's probably, I don't know how strong the alcohol is. See if it says it on here.
Probably 8.
That's what I was thinking. 9%. So yeah, so I mean, this is about 3 Bud Lights in this bottle as far as alcohol is concerned. So maybe 4 Michelob Ultras. Mike's Double IPA showcases his appreciation for hops. In fact, he includes 7 different varieties of American hops, totaling over 6 pounds. Good grief. Oh, 6 pounds of hops per barrel. That's actually not that bad.
All right, now that our yeast is hydrated, we're just going to kind of mix it together. You want to be very gentle. And remember, they are a living creature. They're a fungus. It smells like bread. You know, it's a good thing.
Well, it's because I put yeast in bread.
That's right.
You can, with the yeast cake, I've never done it, but I've read about it. You can make some really good beer bread.
Really?
If you use the yeast cake from it.
Basically, we mix it together, make sure we get it all. So you can see it comes out as a cake. It's kind of gross.
When you, after it gets done fermenting, it'll be a pile about an inch, inch and a half or so of that at the bottom of your fermenter where all the yeast settle out. It gets pretty nasty.
Called the cake. Most of it's dead.
Dead or a dormant.
Some brewers take that off and reuse it. You can actually start new colonies of yeast that way.
Sometimes you can pitch a new batch of beer on top of it, like if you're doing a strong beer.
All right.
Ready?
That guy's ready. I got this one. This is our yeast we started earlier. It's our starter.
Yep.
And I want to kind of give it a good shake.
Shaking it helps to aerate it a little bit.
And also get the cake off the bottom because it will naturally settle. It gets pretty foamy, so with any time you're adding yeast, you don't want to just dump it in. You want to be very gentle with it. You want to be as deliberate as possible, just kind of letting it kind of mix in slowly. As you can see, it looks a lot like that right there, except for chunkier. There we are.
And pop the lid down, and you're good for another couple weeks.
Yep.
Also, for a yeast starter, when I make a yeast starter, I use 2 pints of water for 1 cup of dried malt extract. You just boil it for about 20 minutes in the water, and you cool it, dump it in, then you add your yeast. And that's what you need to do. All right, I hope you all enjoyed the show. Let me know if you have any questions. My name is Ryan Knowles. This is Roaming Rhino's Home Brewery. You can email me at rknowles, knowles66@hotmail.com.
And also be sure to check out our Mid-Missouri Home Brewers. It's on Facebook. We're trying to get people started on there. People have questions. People have suggestions for the site. Give us a holler. Eventually we will launch a real site that's Mid-Mo Home Brewers, and we're going to start forums on there as well.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you.